Have you checked the children? Your little mess
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird,
Jaime Fuego here.
and we are back to do another round of Patreon reviews, beginning with one that was a poll winner recently.
Woo.
And this is one from 1987 called Dolls.
Yeah.
Now, this is also one. So here's the thing. Before this request, I had never seen this movie before.
Neither.
And it's interesting because this is absolutely 100% one of those movies that I saw on the shelf every single time I ever went to a video store growing up.
Yeah, it was that iconic cover with like the girly doll holding the eyeball, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
And as you might have noticed on our thumbnail, of course, because we had to pay homage to that. But yeah, I remember seeing it so many times, but I just never watched the movie. And then it was requested, and I'm like, okay, cool. I love a good doll scary movie, and frankly, we should have forced Marcia to watch this.
Truly,
in retrospect.
Yeah, with her hatred. And I mean, this was kind of a dry run for what we saw later with the Band Brothers and Full Moon, although Charles did not direct this one. He, was like part of the production process, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
and
he
his
did
brother
produce
scored it. And
yes,
so,
and that was obvious too. So that's the thing. This movie starts off with Charles Band's name, and so I was very unexcited when it started. I was like, oh no.
I love those Puppet Master movies, but
I didn't
more
remember.
so the early
I didn't
ones.
remember seeing the Full Moon logo because there is no Full Moon logo. This is not a Full
it's
Moon
not a Full
feature.
Moon movie. It's before they made
It is definitely, obviously scored by someone that scored Full Moon movies later.
Richard Band,
Yes,
Charles' brother.
and I did not realize until Fuego just said that it was Charles Band's brother that scored his movies, and that makes so much sense because this is absolutely scored like a Full Moon movie. However, it is not presented like a Full Moon movie. This is, for giving overall thoughts, I will say that I was truly impressed with this movie. As a 1987 film, the effects were really good for what they were doing. They did a lot of stop motion animation for this film, for the dolls' movements, and it worked wonders. The dolls moved like they were a little out of control of their bodies, which they're full of stuffing, so they would be. Like, there was so much nuance to the effects of the movie when you got them that it was really good. And then the characters, I actually genuinely liked the kid at heart older guy. Like, I identified with him so much.
Yeah.
I liked the little girl. Her acting was a bit stiff, but she had a lot to do in the movie, and she carried the whole thing. And then her father and his, evil stepmother sort of thing. Like, I just really enjoyed this movie. Sticking with the overall before we dive deep, I was surprised at how much I liked Dolls.
Yeah, I actually like borderline love this movie.
Yeah.
I must admit.
Yeah.
Especially.
I
mean,
might seek out the Blu-ray now.
Yeah, man. Stuart Gordon is really the defining factor.
Didn't even mention that,
as far as the creation process of this
Of
and
Reanimator fame. Didn't he do the original Castle Freak?
From Beyond, Castle Freak. I mean,
which we loved as well. That's my favorite Full Moon movie.
Yeah, man. And so, like, I feel like he brought just an essence of sophistication to this project that we obviously didn't see all too often in some of the later Full Moon things. But yeah, this was really good. And while it's not necessarily gory, like when you see the end result of certain characters in this specifically, that was where I found it incredibly chilling as far as that stuff goes. And even the two forgettable, like, some weird mix between punk rockers and like Madonna at the time as far as their attire goes. What transpires with them is still, I mean, relatively disturbing.
It is,
so,
especially considering one stays alive through the ordeal.
Or like, what do you consider even still being alive?
True,
especially with what happens to another character. So this movie chilled me to the bone, actually, and it's one that I'm kind of disappointed I didn't seek out when I was younger, and I saw it at the video store. I saw it in VHS format, just kind of chilling at the Hollywood Video and Superstar and stuff like that, and it was just one that got lost in the shuffle, and damn right, thanks guys for bringing our attention to it. So,
I honestly think it's always such a treat when I discover a movie that's been around for so long that I know this also happened with the original My Bloody Valentine when we finally got around to reviewing that via Patreon.
Which I still
I
haven't
know
watched. It's
if
on
I-
HBO Max
Oh my
now.
god,
and
dude!
I've been-
Well, no,
yeah.
borrow mine. I got the unrated one, so borrow mine
Okay.
and watch the unrated. I haven't even watched it yet. We should watch it together, honestly.
Canadian horror, man.
It is so good that I know it absolutely would have been in my rotation throughout my life, just like Jason and Freddy and all those movies would have been. I feel like if I had watched Dolls originally, or at least not long after it came out, I was 7 when it came out, but if I had watched it when I was in my heyday of horror, I think it, like the original My Bloody Valentine, would have made it into my regular rotation. Like
I think this would have
Child's Play
too.
would have too.
Yeah, man. I
You know?
mean,
Or
this
did,
would
rather.
have been there with the Puppet Master stuff. Like, Puppet Master 2 is the only one of the series I think is really, really good. Everything else, just kind of so-so. But, yeah, this kind of captures that same sort of spirit of, like, who could be, the next victim and the nastiness that, their fate would entail. So yeah.
Exactly. Now, talking about the story is about a young girl, her father, and his new wife, who is basically the evil stepmother. They break down in
Very
the forest.
precariously.
Yes, and the first house that they come across, because they decide they don't want to sit in, the car and wait to have someone come and do something awful to them, they go and they find a house that is run by a oddly mannered, if still relatively welcoming, older couple, right? That welcome them into their house like it's a bed and breakfast. I was going to say B&B, but like it's a bed and breakfast, and they're like, they take to the little girl, obviously, because she's completely innocent. She's got she had a teddy bear that she lost in the forest along the way.
And there's that initial
That actually
scene
sets
where,
the tone, right?
Yeah, because she envisions that big, horrific teddy bear attacking her
she
father.
loses the teddy bear, and then it comes out of the woods and attacks her father in this nightmarish form. And from that point, I was like, "Damn, I'm into this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in."
Yeah, it
big
was one of
giant
those
killer
psych
teddy stuff
sort of
there. Like, yeah,
situations.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So they set the precedent early on, and it's just an engaging story. So they're in this huge house, and there's dolls everywhere, and like the dad is conspiring with the stepmom to try and get rid of the little girl because she's just too much trouble and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the little girl is just walking around the house enamored with a lot of the dolls that she's seeing. And then another guy and 2 girls show up because they also broke down recently, and this guy, he's basically paid for 2 hookers.
Yeah.
And
He's supposed to be so virtuous, and the girls are like, "Yeah, you want to have a threesome with us?"
But
blah,
he's a
blah,
child
blah.
at heart. He's
Yeah.
a child at heart, which makes sense, right? Because
Yeah.
he wouldn't know how to get girls, so he would just pay for them
I
if
still
he
have
had the
to-
means.
And I still have to say, I don't necessarily know if his intention was sex with the both of them.
Maybe
Because
not.
of how simple-minded he
Maybe
is
not.
in
Maybe
the film.
he just wanted
maybe he
companionship,
was.
literally,
Yeah.
just someone to talk to.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he's a child at heart, and he strikes up a friendship with the little girl, and the 2 girls of ill repute end up running afoul of the dolls in the house, which are very virtuous dolls. Like, they're not evil dolls; they just take out bad people. So that's kind of a cool thing throughout the movie, and without giving away the ending or anything like that. It's a movie that actually held my engagement. It's a very, it doesn't have a big cast. It's one of those big mansion movies where people are starting to get picked off one at a time, and it's the mystery of how everyone else finds out. It was just a classically well done horror thriller.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that it was like a pretty serviceable runtime. It wasn't anything super long that's going to overstay its welcome. I think it was like low 80s, as far as like 80-something minutes. And yeah, man, I mean, it also had a cool kind of post-credit scene giving you a hint about stuff that was going to happen later on, as far as how long this sort of, taking in stranded people has transpired, which I thought was kind of cool. I always love horror films that give you the possibility of a sequel, even if you never see one. And so, yeah, man, story-wise, I was engaged, especially when, without spoiling the transformation process that we are kind of keened into, that this was cool. This was.
I agree.
Yeah.
Story-wise, it completely worked for me. Acting-wise, it worked for me as well. I mean, It's a product of its time. It's 1987, so the two
It's a
girls,
B
like
movie.
Fuego said, the
Yeah.
two Madonna-like girls are very much in that vein, the Like a Virgin era Madonna.
Well, the attire as well,
For
like
sure.
on that one girl
For
specifically.
sure,
who,
for sure.
Most of the stuff you have probably seen about a transformation is this Madonna-looking girl, without spoiling too much. So.
But all that, the acting was great. The man-child, the girl. I like. Excuse me. My goodness. I
and
particularly like the old folks.
That I did too. The fact that there was still care and consideration from them.
I like
was
the old
weird.
man particularly.
But, well, it was weird because of the fact
Everyone
that
wants an old grandpa like that.
they're not as bloodthirsty as you would think.
They're not
because
bloodthirsty at all. They
Because
just-
there's some characters
they're
who
righteous.
get away, so they're not
Yeah.
just murderous nastiness.
No, they're happy with people being taught a lesson and stuff. I that's part of just why I really liked them. Honestly.
Yeah, and also the fact that I like to think of myself as, even though the man-child sort of thing, like, Adam Sandler or Will Ferrell, and the fact that they play these, like...
Bro, we still do comics reviews on this channel.
Yeah, we do. But that stuff is a little more accepted, comics and video games and stuff now for
Nowadays
men.
they are.
But back in the day,
Dude,
when you and I were
even in the year
significantly
2000,
younger,
absolutely not.
Yeah.
We'd be made fun of.
yeah, but
Now now us Marvel nerds rule the world.
this is true. It's cool, but yeah, man.
Effects. Let's go to the effects.
We should, and all of the dolls, just the actual design of them, whether it's the marionette, kind of one that we have earlier, or some of the
Straight up,
more evil looking
ceramic
ones,
dolls. all the usual stuff.
Yeah, and there's a plethora of them. My God, there are so friggin' many, especially when you get later into the film, and just the movements of them, and especially once we get to the stop motion. I
Yes.
thought that was really impressive.
So that's the thing. There's a mixture of effects. There's some,
It takes a while to get
there. It's all practical.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's 1987, so it's all practical. But there's a lot of stop motion stuff, and then there's some stuff where it's just dolls in extreme close up, where all you see is the face, and so the face is meant to be a porcelain face, but it's changing, and those
It's being
effects
expressed.
didn't work as well
Yeah.
because it was obviously not a ceramic face doing that they were trying to portray a ceramic face. However, the stop motion stuff was done overly well, where it was completely unnerving because the dolls would be like, they'd be like talking to each other in big, massive movements because they're stuffing. They don't have ways to like stop and stuff like this. So big, massive movements, floppy movements, and unnerving in their own right. So I think overall it was a mixture of quality, but for the most part, God, it was 80% fucking awesome quality.
Yeah, and I have to say it was so much better than most of the stuff that Band went on to do
Oh my
with the
God,
Puppet Master
for
franchise.
sure.
As much as I adore that franchise, or at least the first few films, and I've talked about that consistently, 2 is the only good film in the franchise, but this was significantly better despite transpiring before. So that says something, Stuart Gordon, great job.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
guys, Dolls from 1987 is
Yes.
actually very much worth your time. I was thinking
Indeed.
about keeping this as a patron exclusive review, but quite frankly, I'll probably release it on the channel overall because more people need to watch this movie if they haven't yet.
Yeah.
And I think our thumbnail will bring them in.
Yeah.
But guys, watch Dolls.
I'm
It's
trying to
so
remember.
entertaining.
It's on Tubi right
It was. We
now?
watched it on
Yeah.
Tubi.
Yeah.
So there's ads, but whatever. It's worth it to watch movies for free in the day and age of
Indeed.
VOD this and VOD
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
you know what
man.
I mean?
And I mean, you watch 5 seconds and you skip, and you're just back at it.
It's a minute 30 at the max. It's 3 ads
Oh, that's right,
ranging
that's
from
right.
15 seconds to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I've never gotten 3 30-second ads. It's usually 2 30-seconds and a 15-second, or 2 15s and a 30. So
Same.
it's really
Yeah.
not that bad. It's a minute's worth of ads.
Yeah, and as opposed
And
to
you get it
spending-
4 times in a movie. So
Yeah.
that's how I watched Killjoy too, was on Tubi.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, hey, if you're watching something
God, this
back
is
in
so
the...
much better than Killjoy. Holy shit.
Killjoy. Anyway.
That
And,
one
I
is
mean,
a patron exclusive review.
Yeah, and I mean, remember back in the day, guys, when we would see something on cable or regular program television, and you had to endure those commercial breaks, and they're less now. We're just I don't know. I guess we're spoiled in this streaming day and age where if you have an HBO Max or Netflix or Prime or whatever, you don't have to endure that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
this is well worth it.
Definitely. So thank you again to our patrons. Again, they selected this via poll for one recent month. So We appreciate you guys very much. If you guys want to become a patron and request movies like this for us to review, the link is in the description box down below.
Tell us what to
Thank you to all of you guys. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias a been Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.